I have a lot of really stupid habits, like specifically when it comes to watching things. I have like a grocery list of stuff that I want to get to, just stuff like, oh yeah, I'll watch this. I'll get to it eventually. Just, it's got a lot of other stuff in the way. I just never give myself a reason to do it, right? If I have downtime, I'm like, well, I can be working on my hobbies. I can be fucking jerking off. There's a lot of other things I could be doing with my time. But you might be thinking, wow, you must not be very picky if this fucking movie of all things got onto your grocery list and you made time for it. But that's just also part of my stupid ass habit. I kind of just end up watching stupid bullshit, which I should give myself some grace here. I actually was watching the D&D movie, the one that came out pretty recently. But that movie, right? If you're aware of it, if you've seen it, you're probably like, oh no, that's pretty good, right? It really was. It was pretty good. There's a lot of things to enjoy about that movie, and it's not really in a way that's like a Marvel movie is pretty good. It's actually a decent movie. I hate to use the word film because it makes me sound like a fucking douche. It was a pretty good film. It was actually, well written and got great effects. I'm a big sucker for practical stuff, and there's plenty of that in that movie, so 2 thumbs up from me. When it comes to the WoW movie, the World of Warcraft movie, I can't really say the same, unfortunately. And before I get too ahead of myself, I want to clarify that it's not the worst thing I've ever seen, okay? I've definitely seen shit that I would never watch again. This one I watched more than once, pretty much for the video. I wouldn't have watched it otherwise, but I was able to sit through it more than once and be okay with it. Okay, mild, broad, very extreme disclaimer. I do not know World of Warcraft like at all. Despite my outwards appearance, you would think, man, this guy's fucking been playing since it launched. He came out the womb playing, grinding his fucking WoW dailies, right? No, I don't know shit about WoW. I've never played WoW. Actually, I tried playing it after I watched this movie, and it was so horrifically ugly that I turned the game off. I will say that I wrote this script before I actually did learn some stuff about it, and it gets pretty messy, man. I say a lot of things, so a lot of borderline inflammatory things about some of these characters that I'll just say right now, they came from a place of ignorance, and I was not informed. Okay. Any information I got was solely from the movie. So if I say anything incorrect or just completely off base, blame the movie, not me, okay? To summarize it in my, layman's terms, big conflict, right? A race conflict, a race war, if you will, between the orcs and the humans. Orc leader is gonna bring death and destruction to the humans' land, and the humans retaliate. They gotta do something about it, right? They gotta get to the bottom of why they're here and why this is happening. That's pretty much it. Pretty straightforward, nothing too crazy. That's as simple as I'm gonna make it for you, because let me tell you, there is a bunch of shit that happens in this movie. Considering the amount of shit that happens, it's just, there's not a lot of depth to this movie, which is pretty much my main complaint. But like I said, I'll elaborate. So let's start with the orcs. We'll start where the movie starts, right? The orcs, okay? They're think of like a real tribal, like clan kind of, type deal. That's their culture. And remember that, because that's like the whole, it comes back later, right? So they're very about their tradition, they're very about their roots and their culture. They're led by this evil sorcerer, spellcaster orc. His name is Gul'dan. He uses this magic, this incredible magic that is unbeknownst to these orcs. As they describe it, it's magic born of death. They call it the Fel. So just think of it as some sort of necromancy, right? Just snatching souls. Looks kind of crazy, I'm not gonna lie. It's evil magic. It's evil magic. All right, so he sends his orcs out to raid and pillage, stereotypical orc stuff, all for the sake of bringing in prisoners or hostages, whatever you want to call them, to fuel his magic. He uses their souls to fuel his death magic, because like I said, magic born of death. So you need souls to steal souls, all that good stuff. You get it. Eventually, they're targeting this new land. Right, it's called Azeroth. That's where the humans are at. That's where our main characters are at. And it turns out Azeroth is actually the new home that Gul'dan promised his orcs, because it turns out the orcs, ever since they explained this at some point, the Fel kind of brought death to their world, so they're pillaging other worlds so that they can go and inhabit that shit. They send the mightiest orc warriors through their portal to Azeroth, and that's where the main conflict begins. So of course, you know, they're encroaching on their territory, so the humans are like, hey man, there's some weird shit happening over here, gotta figure it out. That's the whole movie. Orc in village, orc in world, what do? You're thinking, oh, that sounds kind of shallow and generic, what the fuck, that kind of sucks. And you would be right, because it does kind of fucking suck and it's shallow and generic. And like I said, that's my biggest issue with this movie, is that it gives you a lot to chew on, but like it's like when you get a piece of gum, right? What's that one? The damn juicy fruit. Man, those were good. You put that shit in your mouth, you know what I mean? Start, man, it's pretty good. You know, it's got good flavor. About fucking 4 seconds later, whole shit's gone, you're chewing on rubber. That's what this movie's like. It really started off strong. And I'm gonna touch back on that, because the amount of, you could tell the writers gave a shit about the orc part. Okay, it's night and day. It really is. The entire conflict with the humans, you know, and using them as main characters, like, I feel like that was just like the real like milk toast vanilla fucking boring ass route they could have taken with this movie. The orcs were such an interesting group of characters, and it wasn't even like a crazy amount. It was mostly just this one orc in particular, but not Gul'dan. It's a different one that I'll explain right now. But you know, I really think that they should have honed in and focused in on the orcs and their story, because the humans just felt so like generic, and learning in hindsight that the humans that they focused on were like critical to fucking World of Warcraft lore. It's like, I would have never guessed. I would have thought these guys would have fucking been in and out and been done with like 2 years after that. You know what I mean? Would not have guessed the significance of these characters based on the way the movie portrayed them. Conceptually, obviously not the worst thing on paper, it's just but you know, in any other universe I would have just watched this movie and been like, oh, it's mid, whatever, I'm never gonna think about this movie ever again. But what they did with the orcs at the beginning, and I'm finally gonna get to it, okay? I've been putting it off for too long. What they did with the orcs at the beginning just really inspired me to make this video altogether. You know, I really had to get this off my chest, because I was truly moved by that shit. And it wasn't like crazy writing, but fuck, it was so much better than the actual movie. So okay, movie opens, right? It cold open on the fucking orcs, okay? Just that, as far as we're concerned at this point, these are our main characters. So it's this orc, this, you know, a leader of one of the tribes within the fucking, the orcs are called the Horde. So a leader of one of the tribes within the Horde, his name is Durotan. We see him in his little tent, tending to his pregnant wife, his pregnant orc wife. And, you know, they're being all a cute married couple. You know what I mean? They're teasing each other and they're talking about their baby name, and they're basking together in the fucking tent. You know, I'm like, okay, we get some humanization off the rip. And so, like I said, she's pregnant. Durotan and his wife and his tribe, his clan, I guess, they're part of that group that goes with Gul'dan, the leader, to take over the new world. They're part of the elite warriors, right? And you know, it's they shouldn't be taking his wife because she's fucking pregnant, and you know, it's kind of that's not, shouldn't take him into battle, but they do it anyways. And of course, as they're going through the portal, she goes into fucking labor. It's crazy, right? She's all fucking They get out, they're like, oh fuck, and they start flaming them. They're like, why the fuck did you bring her here? What is wrong with you? She gives birth. Gul'dan, the fucking big freaky leader, he comes up, he's like, push, delivers the baby. The baby comes out, it's fucking dead. Oh my god, it's fucking dead. I was just sympathizing with this couple, and I was so happy for them. Now that baby's fucking dead. Oh my god. But Gul'dan, the good guy that he is, he saves the day, and so he sucks the soul out of a deer nearby. He quite literally breathes the life into this fucking baby that just birthed. And I was like, that was cold as fuck. That was cold as fuck. That baby is gonna have the fucking most insane story to tell his kids, because holy shit, that was hella cold. Cut to black. Title card. Crazy shit just happened, bro. And I'm thinking, oh, this is gonna be fire. This is gonna be fire, because I just got off of my fucking stint with Baldur's Gate 3, and now I have a personal connection to orcs because I just made myself in that game. I learned to mod the game and I did that crazy shit. I'm fucking high off my orcs right now. And then I'm like, oh, I got an orc movie to watch. I'm gonna watch these orcs go fucking crazy right now. Imagine my disappointment. So yeah, like I said, you know, I might have a little bit of an orc bias. You know, despite these biases, I feel like it's pretty fair to say that these characters that we got were infinitely more interesting than the human ones that we got. And unfortunately for me and for everyone else that watched this movie, we're pretty much stuck with the human characters for most of the runtime, which like I said, imagine my disappointment. Okay, so after that whole opening scene, we go to the humans, right? Okay, and it's, like I said, pretty straightforward shit, man. The main guy, Anduin Lothar, which is, you know, I learned that he's actually extremely important to the WoW lore, but in this movie, you could have told me it was a bum off the street that just kind of kicked it with the king and the queen, and I would have believed you, man. I'm assuming he's some sort of general. He answers to the king, so he's clearly part of the establishment, but I really don't know where he fits in that. I don't even know if they gave him a title in this movie. His name's Lothar, though. He just kind of just walks around looking raggedy all the time. Which is weird if he's high ranking. It's disclosed that he's the queen's sister, you know, early on. That doesn't really fucking even matter, I guess. Look, Lothar, he has a son, right? And he's kind of like, I guess, his main thing. He's like the most important thing to him. He's serving the kingdom as a soldier, and his whole thing is that he doesn't want to lose his son, right? He's like, oh, I really don't want him to serve, man. I lost his mother. You know, I don't want to lose him too. The spellcaster of the group, you know, the token spellcaster, his name is Khadgar, which is a fucking kind of a funny ass name for a spellcaster. You would think that's one of the orcs. Sounds like a caveman. Anyways, yeah, he's kind of a little dorky dude, you know, fucking just spellcaster. What do you think a spellcaster is? That's what he is. Honestly, I'm kind of being dismissive, but he's one of the more interesting of the human characters because he has a whole thing with like some shadow wizard fucking organization that he left, and he came to do his own research, and then he's the one that actually found out about the Fel being in Azeroth. The last but definitely not least of these characters, because holy shit, there's the Guardian, who they constantly refer to as the Guardian, named Medivh. He's like this, you know, all-knowing elder spellcaster wizard Gandalf type figure, and he's kind of cool, and he's got this swaggy ass robe on whenever he leaves the crib. I thought it was just for aura, but it's actually it's a useful thing. He does whatever the WoW equivalent of a wild shape is, and he just turns into a raven or a crow or whatever the fuck it is, one of those black birds. It's kind of cool. You can see him right there. Look, there he goes. And of course there is a half orc, the only half orc to my knowledge in this movie, named fucking Garona. Oh god, what a fucking awful name. Garona is her name. Her being a half orc, she kind of just serves as like the fucking translator for most of the movie. So she's like important, but like in the same way fucking Google Translate is important. And also she has a fucking hilariously like undercooked fucking romance with Lothar. Hilarious, because like what the fuck, there's like no reason that should have happened at all. I'll get to that. Remember when I said that I don't know shit about World of Warcraft? Yeah, it's about to get inflammatory as fuck in this bitch, I'm not gonna lie. After that initial watch, I felt like the orc characters should have just been the focal point of the movie, and the humans all fucking suck and are pointless. While half of that is still true, half of that, I just feel like the way they distributed the screen time for a lot of these characters was just not at all what they should have done. It just was a disservice to what these characters are meant to be in the actual story, and just it was so incredibly underdeveloped. They like half-ass set up motivations for these characters just to like give them zero, like little to no payoff at the end. It's like I said, it's fucking borderline offensive. Like for example with Lothar, you know, he's, from what we can gather, what they give to us, a seasoned general of sorts that, you know, has a son who chooses to serve, and he doesn't want him to serve, but he does it anyways. That's all he's got, except for his sister, which she doesn't count apparently. That's pretty much as far as his character development goes. There's no arc, there's no fucking progression with that shit. It's just That's the way it is. Talking about his fucking dead BM and shit, and then he just ends up fucking on the half-orc chick for some reason. It's ridiculous. They have like weird sexual tension like immediately, like right out the gate. They lock eyes and they're like, I'm fucking that. I'm genuinely like 95% sure that the writers were just giving themselves stroke material, because like this shit made no fucking sense. I cannot see a world where this would have made any fucking sense. And it's funny because she at one point accidentally leads the humans into an orc ambush. Like she didn't mean to, but that's what happened. And Lothar's fucking kid dies. He fucking dies in that ambush. And she's like, fuck, it's my fault. Oh my God, like he's not gonna fuck on me anymore. And of course, you know, we understand that this kid is like the most important thing to Lothar at this point, and you know, close second to fucking half-orc booty call. She goes to apologize to him. She's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And he's like, fucking, it's not your fault. And then they start macking on each other. But you know, he chooses to forgive her and not forgive her, but he chooses to not blame her for his death. Because, you know, he reveals that, oh, I blamed my son for my wife's death for so many years, and fucking now I regret. He's like, I'm not gonna do that to you. I can't express how unimportant that was to the story. I was just telling you about it because I thought it was kind of funny. Also, kind of towards the end, I don't know if this counts as like a character arc. He kind of treats Khadgar as a surrogate son, the spellcaster from earlier. And when you really put it into perspective like that, we're kind of just filling the void with this guy, huh? Fucking moral of the story, your family dies, get a new one. So just think about that, right? I hope I didn't sound too biased and how annoyed I was at this fucking movie. You compare what I just explained to you to the orcs' point of view, to that real gripping narrative, this tribal leader second guessing his allegiance to this fucking weird creature that has death magic because he fucking rebirthed his son using the soul of a deer. It's crazy shit, you know. You're like, fuck, you know, where's that gonna go? There's a lot of seeds planted. You don't know where that's gonna go. You compare it to the humans story, it's like, what fucking movie would I rather watch? Clearly the one with fucking stakes in place and shit happening. Okay, so think of that description I just gave of the humans' point of view, and I'm gonna do my very best to describe the orcs story in a similar fashion. Okay, I'm going to sound biased. But I'm going to try to make it as fucking flip-floppy and half-assed as I did the other one. Okay, I'm gonna try. Okay, like I laid out earlier, you know, the orcs are fighting for their glorious leader who promised them a new home and the new lands, and they're doing that whole thing. Portal, you know, baby dies. They revive the baby. He sees his baby get rezzed. Okay, revived. He's visually taken aback. He's like, oh my God, maybe this guy using death magic isn't to be trusted, as if the big nasty motherfucker that commands you to pillage civilizations wasn't enough to set off a few alarms. And so while they're raiding in Azeroth, their death magic that fell is turned against them, and you're thinking, holy shit. You see what it does. It just, these big fucking brooding orcs are just done, dead, gone. You're like, holy shit. Durotan sees that and he's like, oh fuck. Ooh. And so they retreat, they get the fuck out of there, and eventually they got to regroup, right? So they get back to camp, right? They get back to HQ, to base camp, and the leader of that raid, named Blackhand, he's getting punished for retreating. Fucking Gul'dan is basically like, you bitched out, now you gotta die for it. Blackhand puts his fucking hand into this pit or something, so he starts decaying, his fucking hand's falling off. He's like, Durotan sees this, he's like, what the fuck, this is bullshit, why he gotta die for that? And he cuts his arm off. Gul'dan's like, what do you think you're doing? You dare fucking interrupt this judgment? He's like, they turned your magic against us, this is bullshit. And fucking Big Nasty gets all mad. He's like, only I can do that shit, the fuck are you talking about? And they're like, it happened, you can ask everyone in this room, they could tell you what happened. And so he's like, I guess. So the dude lives, everything's good. But this is enough to set Durotan on the path of righteousness and not big nasty evil, okay? He's like, if he was willing to throw us to the curb like that, to see us as so expendable, Blackhand is like his right-hand man, you know what I mean? And he was gonna send him to the curb because he fucking retreated. So he's like, this is bullshit. We are lambs to the slaughter. Okay, and so now he's fully radicalized, he's fully converted, if you will. After this radicalization, he does his best to reach out to the humans. You know, they're in custody of the half orc, so he sets up with her and she's like, yo, I need y'all to come to this point at this time, and we're gonna coordinate, we're gonna team up, right? Team up like the Power Rangers, you know what I mean? Megazord. That's what leads to the ambush, you know, somehow, some way, and I don't remember how, I don't know if it's explained in the movie, but they find out about the secret meeting. And so a bunch of the loyalist orcs, they set up an ambush and wait. Once they all get there, once they start congregating, boom, they all come out and everyone's fucking throwing hands. Now it looks bad. Now they think that the half orc betrayed them. Now they think that the fucking good orcs are also dickheads. It's like, it's not a good look. None of this is a good look. So now Durotan is outed as a traitor. It's time. The day of reckoning is here. You cannot fight it. So his clan starts getting slaughtered. You know, they come for him and his wife. His wife actually gets to escape. She got out, but they're still looking for her. They're trying to kill her. And she gets out with the baby, and she sends him down the river, you know, to sail away from harm. And she dies in the process of doing that. And I was like, oh, you know, fucking baby don't got no father, no mother now. Honestly, the biggest tragedy of that is the baby not knowing how hard his birth was. That shit was so fucking cold, you have no idea. I'm putting that shit on screen again. Fuck it. Durotan pretty much knows he's cooked. He knows he's gonna die. So he tries to get them to respect the tradition, and he challenges Gul'dan, the leader, to a fucking 1v1, an honorable battle to the death. He kind of knows he's gonna lose, but his goal here is to expose him as a fraud, okay? And like I said, they're respecting the tradition, so he challenges them, and then Gul'dan's like, nah, you're a traitor, bro. I don't got time for this. I'm not gonna entertain this. And everyone there is like, it's the tradition though. He challenges you, it's time. So he's like, fine, whatever. I'm gonna make short work of you. He takes off his fucking cloak. Fucking craziest physique you've ever seen. I'm like, holy shit, this guy's crazy. He doesn't need the magic. He might actually just smoke him right here. So they're fighting, and this is like towards the climax, and so they're waiting for this portal that they've been talking about to open. And the portal starts to open, and you know, he's like, fuck, I don't have time for this. You know, he tells Blackhand, yo, finish him off, be done with it. And Blackhand's like, man, hell no. You started this shit, you gotta finish it. Respect the tradition. Keep fucking fighting. And they keep fighting. They keep scrapping, right? Fight keeps going on. Gul'dan just says, fuck it, no more funny business. And he starts to use his death magic on Durotan in front of everybody. And that was the goal, right? He knew he was gonna get him to fold. He doesn't actually give a fuck about the tradition. He's just after, you know, his own personal gain. You know, he starts he's killing Durotan. Durotan's gonna fucking, he's getting his soul sucked out of him. Everyone's like, yo, what the fuck? This is cheating. Like, you're full of shit. It's bullshit. What y'all gonna do about it? What are y'all gonna do about it though? I can easily kill all of you right now, and you will do nothing about it. So you serve me or you die. And everyone's like, well, that's kind of, can't argue with that. Can't really argue with that. I'm not happy about it, but shit, I guess I don't really got a choice here. And so that portal was opening for was actually for the rest of the horde to come through. Because remember how I said at the beginning, they only got the elite warriors to come through. Well, that's a small group of the horde, right? The rest of the horde has no fucking idea what just happened. So you got this small group of fucking people that just witnessed this shit and realized, damn, this guy's a martyr, actually. This guy just died for us so we could see the lies, right? And then you have like a fucking thousands more orcs running through this bitch just still incredibly loyal to Gul'dan. It's like, yo, there's some real drama set up right here. Like, you know, how is this gonna fucking break down? Like, you know, we got some fucking rebels in here, we got some, you know, loyalists. Like, it's crazy, right? This is some crazy politics that could happen here. So big fight breaks out. It's the horde versus all the people of Azeroth, and eventually it comes down to the half orc, Garona, and the king. They're kind of circled. There's fucking orcs coming at them left and right, and the king looks at Garona. He's like, look, if we both die here, no good will come of this. Nothing will get done. This war will continue forever. You need to kill me right now to gain their trust and serve as the catalyst for fucking peace between humans and orcs. You need to do this right now. And she's like, no, can't do it. I can't do it. And he's like, no. This is the only way. because if we both die, nothing's gonna happen. And so he uses the blade that his wife, the queen, gave her for self-defense. She uses that blade. She uses it, sticks him right in the back of the neck. And then now the orcs are praising her as the, you know, the champion. She took down their greatest warrior, the king. And she gained their trust, but at what cost? And it's crazy because I haven't talked about Lothar yet. He was off doing a side quest, right? He gets in, he flies in on a griffin, and all he sees is a dead king with the blade that he knows they gave her earlier. So all he understands is that, oh my God, she turned on us. She took him out. She was playing the long haul, and I was fucking on that. Crazy drama. It's wild. You know, there's not a lot happening with Lothar this whole movie, but that right there, I was like, holy shit. There's ooh, you know, I almost wanted a sequel as bad as that fucking movie was. I'm telling you, all this drama, the intensity that we get from the orcs, it's so good with so little we get from them on screen. It's incredible. Thinking about it, it's so upsetting that they felt the need to split that runtime with all those human characters equally. It's just not enough. And this is 2 hours, by the way. It's a 2-hour runtime, a little less maybe. But they really shouldn't have. You know, considering the amount of human characters they wanted to incorporate into this movie, they should have just honed in on like 2, maybe 3 of them, and we probably would have been golden. But no. Instead, they wanted Lothar, you know, the Guardian, Khadgar, you know, the half-orc. They all have their own individual hang-ups, and it's just we don't get to see a lot of those explored beyond just surface level things because we're trying to cover too much shit. So it's all that, you know, all these different things that we got to cover, but you know, the writers, for some reason, they just felt the need to, you know, get a finger in every pie. Now we got it as a bunch of fucked up pies. If it was hard to follow because there was like too many characters and too many things to chew on, like just so much information I can handle, that'd be a different conversation. But all we have is just way too much shit and like so little to chew on. It's like that analogy I gave earlier. It's like chewing on rubber. It's just nothing. My fucking crackpot theory on why this was the case, is that it's kind of hard to sell a movie about orcs to the general public. It's kind of too much on the fantasy end, and it's like, oh, this is a movie for nerds. I'm not a nerd. I'm a guy that goes to fucking 9-to-5 blue collar work, right? Like, I'm not gonna watch that. You'd be surprised, but you know, marketing teams for some reason just got fucking peanuts for brains. It's just they don't see it that way. So they didn't want to make the orcs the focal point of the movie, so they're like, fuck, we need humans. We need more humans. Focus more on the humans. Again, this is my fucking crackpot theory. This could be completely incorrect. Whether that was the writer's choice due to higher up interference, which is often the case these days, or if it was just something that they came up with that they felt they needed to do. It's just not the route that I think they should have gone. And the quality of writing between the orcs and the humans just, it speaks for itself, truly. And, you know, I mentioned the D&D movie earlier, and it's like I said, it's pretty well agreed among people in those spaces, like D&D spaces, or people that even watched the movie, that, you know, it was pretty damn good for what it was. And, you know, it had a coherent story, and it had some pretty good humor and nice action, lots of great effects. It really catered to fans of the game that is D&D. Without being or feeling like a complete self-suck. You know, the movie was not a commercial success by any means. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you, but I feel like it has a following to the point where if they decided to make a sequel, they could easily sell tickets. And I say that because as a non-WoW fan, I'm speaking like I'm talking from experience here, but I think that this movie could have had the potential to be looked back fondly on fans of the series, and even you know, fans of just fantasy in general. Like I said, not tapped into WoW spaces like that, but I can't imagine too many people who are fans of the game were like crazy about this movie. Like, you know, I just cannot see how this level of writing would have done their characters justice. Here's my super expert and professional and awesome fucking completely factual and correct opinion. If I was in the room when this was getting pitched, right, I would have rather have this been a series. I know at the time this movie was, you know, first spitballed and even released, series weren't like a huge thing at the time, but I think it really would have benefited from that format, from that longer storytelling. You could have focused more individually on the characters. You know, each character could have had an episode for all I care. You know, just however they wanted to do it. And it would have just given them more time, more screen time, more room to work with, to explore everything they really tried to set up in the movie. Obviously, you know, budget's kind of hairy with the TV budget, right? You know, that CG wouldn't look nearly as good as it did in the movie, because it was pretty fucking good, I'm not gonna lie. But, you know, I think it would have been a good investment. It would have been something like Arcane. I think it would have done wonders for the fucking reputation of that game. You know, League is a hellhole. Nobody fucking likes League. Not even League players like League. And Arcane just made a whole new batch of fans for League. Like, motherfuckers went and played the game. They're like, wow, this sucks. Stop playing it. But they downloaded and played the game. I think that could have been something like that for World of Warcraft. You know, it would have brought more people in, but that game actually isn't completely dog shit from what I understand. So it would have actually probably birthed new players if they weren't going to go that route of the TV series or the mini series or whatever the fuck. If they're going to keep it a movie, honestly, just make it about the orcs, man. Just commit to it. If you want to advertise it to the general public like it's not an orc movie, keep human scenes in there. You know, they're still important to the plot. But they're things that they do, the things that happen between the humans. There's just not a whole lot going on there. So you just use the footage of the humans in the advertising. But when they go see the movie, they're pleasantly surprised by the orcs' story. I'm not gonna say that I solved their problem, but I kind of solved their problem. But look, man, like I said, kind of a mess. I don't really even know how coherent what I was saying was. This recording is already over an hour. Oh my god. But that's as good as the take you're gonna get from me without me nitpicking at stupid shit, at least. If any World of Warcraft fans watched this the whole way through, I'm sorry you had to listen to that. You did it to yourself. You gotta remember that I'm approaching this critique of this movie, if you can call it a critique, from the point of a common man, and not from that of a WoW, historian, so to speak. You know, I'm simply trying to bridge some of the gaps to see where this movie kind of shit the bed. You know, I'm just trying to understand it from a movie perspective. But yeah, you know, I don't know. I'm hoping to talk about more movies that I enjoy, or, you know, just if I had something to say about a movie, I'm probably just going to talk about it at some point. Like I said, I don't know how coherent this shit was. It could have been a fucking blabbering mess, but we're gonna find out. And I'm gonna upload it anyways. I already made a thumbnail for it, so if it sucks, I could probably live with that. Just tell me in the comments, man, that shit was kind of ass. Put the fucking fries in the bag. Engagement is engagement. I'll take it where I can get it. But yeah, if you enjoyed that little fucking spiel of mine that I just gave on this fucking movie that nobody watched, leave a like. You know, share it with a friend. If they like World of Warcraft, just share it with them, and they'll probably fucking dislike this video and call me fat and stupid. I'm not gonna stop them though. I'm probably just gonna hit them one of these. You know what I mean? So feel free. Let me know what you thought in the comments. Let me know if you watched the movie. Let me know what you thought. If you're a big WoW fan, if you're not, you know, what was your experience with it? How do you feel about it? That's gonna be it for me. If you want to catch me on my socials, I'm at KeyStrX on everything. I'm more active on Twitter than anything else. Follow me there instead. Twitch, I'm live on Twitch Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Kind of, it's subject to change. It kind of just whenever the vibes are right, you know. But if I am live, it's gonna be on those days, so just keep an eye out. Twitch.tv/keys3x. Go follow, go turn on notifications, all the good stuff. I kind of just do whatever on there, so if you want to come hang out, if you're not doing anything, just come say what's up. So twitch.tv/keys3x. And I got a Discord in the description. See when I upload, see when I go live, all that good, awesome stuff. But other than that, until the next live stream or video, wherever I see you next, take care of yourselves. They got Joe Biden back there. You will travel far, my little Gohan. Does it seem Gohan?